I want to bring in NBC's Ken Delaney in. Following this from Washington, Julie Sirkin is on Capitol Hill. Former Maryland Democratic Congresswoman Donna Edwards is an MSNBC political analyst, and MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin is here with me in studio. Julie, the president weighed in on this just a short time ago. He said MacIver was out of control. Tell us more about what she's saying and what we're hearing from other members of her party.
Well, thanks to that great video from our own Brennan Leach, who questioned Rep. MacIver when these charges, of course, came out, the first opportunity to do so this morning. Interestingly, the congresswoman from New Jersey, the Democrat, said she first heard of the charges, found out about them when she saw them posted online. She didn't get a heads up. She didn't get other notification, according to her comments. This is a precarious moment, though, for Democrats who do not control any part of the government, meaning all they can really do is pursue oversight of these matters. They can also, I guess, try to impeach the president again, but we saw what leadership did when it came to a member offering that last week. But they keep on hammering this point of due process. We saw that time and time and again when it came to the immigrants who were deported, one of them, of course, to El Salvador, them standing up in that way, not for illegal immigration, but for due process. And of course, MacIver here repeating that as it concerns her situation here. Take a listen to what Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, had to say last week before these charges officially came out. Watch.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do? I mean, what recourse? I mean, but doesn't that broach a?
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across?
That's a red line.
What's the red line, though? I mean, I know we have the speech.
It's a red line. It's very clear.
Democrats standing behind MacIver, the other Democrats in New Jersey who, of course, attended that protest at the ICE facility. They talked about this, I'm told, in a closed-door meeting this morning with all Democrats and Democratic leadership. So far, though, keeping their cards very close to their vests is what they plan to do next, and that red line that Hakeem Jeffries describes.
So, Ken, can you explain the charges, put them into some context? They involve, among other things, this story does, the mayor of Newark. So tell us what exactly was going on there.
Yeah, well, first of all, this is not typical to charge a member of Congress, and neither is the way the Justice Department rolled it out, Chris, announcing it before releasing the charging documents. Take a listen to more from our colleagues' hallway interview with the congressman this morning.
Were you made aware of these charges before it was put on Twitter? That's how you found out?
Correct.
And do you receive any charging documents or anything like that, any sort of outreach?
As of this morning, my attorneys have the charging documents.
And is your plan to turn yourself in, or do they have to come to you? What is the process?
That's the end of my questioning, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the criminal complaint against Representative MacIver finally was released today, and it says she slammed her forearm into the body of a Homeland Security agent as she was trying to prevent the arrest of the Newark mayor. The complaint says she yelled, "Surround the mayor," and it includes several photos of what looks like her forearm contacting an agent's back. We also saw that in the video. It says the photos illustrate her attempts to, quote, forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, and intimidate the officer as he tried to carry out his duties. Now, this charge against her is a misdemeanor charge of simple assault that carries a penalty of up to 1 year in jail or a fine. U.S. Attorney Alina Habba suggested that she tried to resolve this case without charges. She said she gave the representative every opportunity to come to a resolution, but she has unfortunately declined. MacIver says she did nothing wrong and is accusing federal agents of escalating the situation by arresting the mayor of Newark without cause. Her lawyer said in a statement that, quote, ICE agents chose to escalate what should have been a peaceful situation into chaos, and that this prosecution is an attempt to shift the blame for ICE's behavior to Congresswoman MacIver. Chris.
Thank you so much for that. So, Lisa, ICE itself, I should say, back in February, they released a notification. It says that when it comes to members of Congress, quote, ICE will comply with the law and accommodate members seeking to visit or tour an ICE detention facility for the purpose of conducting oversight. And in fact, the congresswoman says after the scuffle, they were indeed allowed to go in there. So what do you see, and how do you see this case unfolding?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to something that Ken said, because if you read the criminal complaint really closely, the statute at issue here can be used to charge either a misdemeanor or a felony. What converts it into a felony is where you have a physical assault or physical contact. And indeed, Congresswoman MacIver has been charged with 2 felonies here. In both cases, of the alleged forcible assault, she is said to have had physical contact first with an agent from Homeland Security Investigations, secondarily with an ICE deportation officer. But Chris, going back to the entitlement of members of Congress to conduct oversight, in one way, that's not at issue here, right? Because what she's being charged with is an assault having to do with her efforts to preclude the officers from arresting Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. On the other hand, it would have never gotten to that point if there were not hours worth of efforts by Congresswoman MacIver and her two congressional colleagues to get the tour to which they were entitled. They say that they spent hours inside the facility, outside the facility, being shuttled around, being delayed by the folks inside, when all they were trying to do is exercise the right to oversight, which ICE itself, as you just said, has publicly acknowledged. And indeed, if they considered her a threat to public safety, why then did they give her that tour in the aftermath of the scrum that is at the heart of these charges?
So, Congresswoman, what kind of stress test does this place on, I guess, separation of powers when you have the Trump administration charging a sitting member of Congress in a situation like this?
Well, I mean, for all the talk that President Trump and the Trump administration have made about weaponizing the government, this is a classic example of the administration, the executive branch, weaponizing government against members of Congress who were exercising their responsibilities as members of Congress. I mean, the first wrong here happened when they were denied the opportunity at first to go in and do their congressional duty. And so I think that it's not really clear, frankly, from the video. There was a lot of pushing and shoving going on. And it's not really clear that the Congresswoman, frankly, wasn't pushed into these officers. And so I don't think that the video itself is evidence of any criminal action or intent. But more than that, politically, for members of Congress, to whether they're showing up at the border or at a government facility, they should not be kept from doing their jobs, for acting in their responsibility. And I think it's going to be really important for both Democrats in the Congress and also for the Congresswoman to exercise her rights to defend herself against these charges.
This likely won't be the last time Democrats want to get a look at a detention facility like this. I mean, the administration has made it very clear they want to continue to have deportations. Is there something Democrats should be doing differently moving forward?
Yeah, well, look, I think that what Democrats have to do is really, even with their Republican colleagues. I mean, there were times under the Biden administration where Republicans wanted to visit the border. They were not impeded in doing that. They wanted to visit detention facilities. They were not impeded in exercising that responsibility. And so, Democrats really have to stand up for the Article 1 branch, for the legislative branch and its ability to exercise oversight. But without the, cooperation of the majority defending the right of the legislature, it's hard to say what it is that the Trump administration could or could not get away with. And this, we see, I think, a great overreach and overstep on the part of the administration.
And there's a bigger picture here, too, Lisa, as well. The Washington reported just last week that the DOJ wants to make it so prosecutors around the country don't have to check with them before charging lawmakers with crimes. What could that mean?
Well, Chris, I asked this question of the Department of Justice last night because I was curious to know whether they followed their own existing policy in charging Congresswoman MacIver. Current policy says that if you're going to charge a sitting member of Congress, not only do you have to consult with the Public Integrity Unit, you have to get their approval. And this is the response I got from a DOJ official. Justice manual provisions for several sections are under review. No final decisions have been made. The point of the review is to ensure that equal responsibility is held in the field, meaning at the U.S. Attorney's offices, as opposed to centralizing all authority in the Public Integrity Unit. What they refer to as centralization at Main Justice is what many people would refer to as an additional check and balance that is in favor of the rule of law and ensuring that all cases that are charged are just and where there is a strong likelihood that a conviction will be obtained. The removal of that approval is what many prosecutors or former prosecutors will tell you is not a good sign for the development of the law.
I want to thank Ken Dilanian, Julie Sirkin, Congresswoman Donna Edwards, and Lisa Rubin. You are staying with us.